Hi Randy, again. I think I'm going to use "Hi Randy" as my opening catchphrase on all the videos from now on. I quite like it. But just another little brief video about the rear boot floor and the accompanying panels and how they fit together. Hope this helps you, mate. Right, topic of the day, Randy. This sandwich of three panels coming together here, which seems to be causing you a bit of concern. What I've decided to do is, and I think this was with your help on one of your previous videos, is have the spine of the companion bin running into that gap there of this closing panel. So we've got the boot floor, the little closing panel part, and then in the gap there is the spine of the companion bin. I mean, I could have squashed it in between this area here, but the reason I've chosen not to do that is I want to try and put the companion bins in almost last. The reason I want to put this companion bin in last is I want to weld it. I want to weld the companion bin to the floor of the car from this side using some plug welds. I don't want to weld it. I don't want to weld it up through the pocket of the companion bin from the inside of the car. I mean, you can see here that this companion bin should be able to fit into the gap even after I've joined the boot floor and that little infill panel together. I could almost weld these two panels together, the boot floor and the infill piece, and then still slide in the companion bin after at the end. So that's the reason I've done it, and I think it's as you said, I think it looks like it was meant to be that way. So that's what I've done there. Sequence of events is, what I'm doing is, the first thing I want to weld in permanently in place are the wheel arches, and the reason I want to weld those in first is I'm dependent on them being robust enough to attach to the rotisserie. So you can see in this area here, all prepped, waiting for the arch to be welded into place. I think before I do that, I'll probably weld in this little repair panel first, so I can get a continuous run of spot welds along this point, and I'll show you the other side of the car so you can see what I mean. This is the other side of the car, Randy, and this arch is now welded into place. It's spot welded all the way along there. It's spot welded to this repair panel there. This repair panel's been spot welded in along this point round there and onto the seam of the car. And that's a good, nice, solid joint now. I've also welded the arch into position along the connection to the back seat, and you can see that from the inside. Some plug welds along the back seat there and up down the side of the arch itself. So that wheel arch is welded into position, bolted back onto the rotisserie, and it's offering the shell support so I can carry on working elsewhere. I'll show you the preparation on the other arch, ready for doing the same. So this is the This is the other arch. I'll put that on the floor. So I've taken the arch out, which is why we've got the big gaping hole in the side of the car. I've taken all the Tek screws out, and I've attached the two support brackets for the arch, and I'll weld these into position before the arch goes back in. And the beauty is of Tek screws is I can take them off, put them back on again, and they're all in exactly the same position. So I've got a couple of screws holding this stiffener bracket, which is the wheel arch to the rear bench seat stiffening bracket. I'll prep all this up, get it all ready for welding. You can see the lines I've drawn on there in marker pen. You can see where the side of the bench seat comes down. You can see where the companion bin comes up against it there. The two holes for the Tek screws holding it in. You can see where all this needs prepping up. And then you can see the position for the other mounting bracket. Again, held in with a couple of screws. We'll tidy all that up, spot weld it in place, clean all the rim up there, get the paint off, and get all this ready for spot welding into position. And I know, because of the beauty of Tek screws, is when I put that back in there and put all the screws back in temporarily, it's in the ideal position. So we'll give that a go. Once I've got the arches welded in and the connection is solid again back onto the rotisserie, I can look at taking out the boot floor and the rear heel board, getting them all prepped up. I'm going to put the heel board back in then first, get it welded into position. I want to do that so I don't get any access issues for welding, for doing some internal welding between the heel board and the floor of the car. I don't want this seat part of the boot floor getting in my way and impeding my access. And then I'll prep up the boot floor for welding. I'll try and weld as many of these holes closed as I can, even though I'm finding it extremely difficult, would you believe, to find mild steel 1 and 3/4 inch diameter circles in the UK. They seem quite rare. You can get them in stainless steel, but they seem to be quite rare in mild steel, especially you know, 1-2 mil thick. With the boot floor out, it'll give me a chance to modify the fuel pipe slot there to suit a carb version, which just had the single fuel pipe and the vent pipe coming through. Try and get some of these holes welded shut, some of these cavity wax holes there. I'll probably, when I put the boot floor back in, I'll pre-weld the valance reinforcement sections onto it. Again, I can take it off, put it back on again. I'm happy with the position of it. I'm happy with the angle of the valance closing piece there, because I've got another screw in there defining the position. That was all sorted when all the panels were connected together. But I can fit the valance last. I'm not concerned about the valance at the moment. All this can be spot welded together, then spot welded together again, or plug welded. I'm just hoping I can get the boot floor slid in. I don't see why I shouldn't. between the welded in arches and the welded in heel board, and I'm sure it can all go in. And then it's just going to be a continuation of finishing things off. The doorstep repair, the rear quarter repair can all go on. This can all be repaired with a jacking point welded in. My doorpost repairs, welding through to the companion beam, some welds on the inside, and then the very last thing will be the outer sill can go on once all this has been painted and you know, get it all sorted before it gets encapsulated in there. So there's going to be a big run of welding on there. I'm not a big fan of seam welding everything to death, if I'm honest. You know, these cars were made with the panels just spot welded together. I mean, I would do continuous seam welds if I was doing repair panels where you've got half panels connected in, like a half boot floor or a half in a wing or some front in a wing. I'd seam weld that then, but you know, these panels were only ever designed to be spot welded together. I'm not going to seam weld everything to death because, you know, NASA aren't going to be launching this into space. It's just for driving down the road. So yeah, sequence of events: arches in, back on the jig, boot floor, heel board out, prep it up, heel board back in, boot floor prepped, back in, rest of the panels, valance last, companion bins last, outer sill last, and then I've got to concentrate on the front end and start rebuilding that to give it back its round nose and make it feel a little bit longer. So yeah, all there. One tip for you, Randy, is never try and repair a sunroof hole. That was an absolute nightmare. Steel panel bent to shape, joggled all the way around the edge, trying to stop the heat distortion on a roof panel. God, what a nightmare. But it's not bad. I'm sure people will judge me on the finished article once it's done. But yeah, slowly getting there. Well, I hope that helped, Randy. Yeah, a lot of things going on, a lot of things happening, but I think I've got it all sorted in my head. Which panel, you know, is going to be welded in which order. I've got to make a start somewhere. I'm going to get these arches back in, and hopefully I can put another video together for you when I've got a few more panels in position, welded in, and I'll report back to you, mate.